Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here. It is Tuesday, December 17th, and we'd like to start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entenmann.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Thank you very much. We start our meetings in Sioux Falls with an invocation, and we're very blessed to have Dr. Ron Tottingham back. Dr. Ron does this quite often for the city of Sioux Falls and the people that we serve. He's with Empire Baptist Temple. And what we'd ask you to do is stand for the invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Ron, welcome back.
I would like to say to the City Council, Merry Christmas, and this is the greatest city in the world. I've been in 33 countries and lots of cities. You've been given the opportunity to run that city, and I want you to know that I appreciate it very, very much. Our Father, tonight, thank you for your blessings to us. We have the honor of living in a great city, and we have a great commission that is tasked with running this city, and I pray tonight your blessings on them, that you'd give them guidance as they make decisions. They may not always know you are, but be on their shoulder, breathe on them, give them guidance that this might remain the greatest city in the world. Bless us tonight as only you can. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Council, we're going to move right into our consent agenda. Any changes to our consent agenda?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to approve by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I'd like to pull 3 items from the consent agenda. The first one is with Public Works Water. The vendor is Apex Engineering, and the amount of money is $25,000. And then secondly, with the Health Department, and the vendor is the Center for Family Medicine, and the amount to establish pricing. And then thirdly, Parks Department, the vendor is the YMCA, and the amount is $136,000. Also, at the same time, I understand Public Works wants to amend the agenda by eliminating Pictometry International as a vendor, and the amount is $122,143. But I'm not quite sure how we can delete that.
Very good. Councilor Staggers would like to take 3 items off the consent agenda. One involves Public Works and Apex Engineering. Another involves our Health Department and Centers for Family Medicine. And the third involves Parks and YMCA. So we're gonna pull those off. And then also, Mr. Berg.
Good evening. Andy Berg, Public Works. We wish to remove 2014 Digital Aerial Orthophotography Services Agreement for Services, Pictometry International, $122,143. Engineering from contracts agreements.
And very good. And Andy Berg has made a request to remove an item for the consent agenda as well, and we'll handle that at a later time. So very, very good. Council, we've got other items on the consent agenda. Would anybody, any further discussion? Councilor, did you have a question?
I have a question on Councilor Staggers, the Parks Department one. Where is that found? On the back side.
Oh, it's the last item.
Oh, on the back side.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor. Councilor, thank you. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach.
Yes. What are we doing?
We're approving the consent agenda without the items.
Don't we need I'm sorry.
There was a motion.
Point of order, though. Andy asked us to remove an item from the consent agenda. Did we need a motion and a second to do that first, to make that amendment? We did that last week to remove that item. To remove Public Works Engineering 2014 digital aerial,
Dictionary International.
move it.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Aguilar.
wouldn't it be that a council member would have to ask to have it removed? And I don't think then we would need any type of motion.
Otherwise, we're going to approve it. If I say yes now, I'm approving
You're
it with it
approving
in
it.
there. So
Would,
I would ask,
Councilor
Mr.
Aguilar.
Mayor, I would ask that you remove the 122,000 from Public Works Engineering.
Councilor Aguilar is requesting that we remove the item 2014 digital aerial orthophotography services, agreement for services Pictometry International for $122,143 from contracts and agreements. Thank you, Councilor, for doing that.
now I will vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. We've got a yes vote on the remaining items on the consent agenda.
Councilmembers Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
If
Councilor.
I might, please, I think the citizens might want to know why we did that, and I have a statement that kind of addresses that, if you don't mind.
Right ahead,
If I go ahead and read that so that there's a little bit of better understanding what we're doing with the consent agenda here, okay? The city council has a right, and I would say a responsibility, to question or pull any item off the consent agenda whenever a council member feels some uncertainty or reservations. There is a good faith agreement in place between the council and the administration. This agreement respects the council's ability to fully question and deliberate every agreement, contract, or other consent item. In addition, this agreement also respects each councilor's concerns by providing ample notice that the questions are coming. This allows the sponsoring department to fully prepare and organize detailed responses. And I am asking again that any councilor who needs additional information or who plans to pull a consent item, please notify council staff or me by Tuesday at noon. And Councilor Staggers did do that. I just wanted people to be informed of that. And if you have any ideas for improving this process, please let me know. Giving little or no opportunity for staff to prepare a response does no justice to the councilor's question and this body's deliberative process. And I might add that the department directors or those they were informed that we were pulling these from the agenda, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Council Chair, thank you very much. Good job. Now we're going to move on to the
Mr.
regular.
Mayor, could I
Councilor
just add
Staggers.
one comment? Jim, I think you might agree with me. One thing you didn't mention in your comments is that sometimes these are pulled just because a council member does not want to vote for it, wants to vote against it. It's not so much they need further information. So, for example, tonight, there is one of these items that I pulled. I just simply want to vote against it.
That's fine.
I don't want to be voting for it.
Fine.
Very good. Any other discussion, Council? Very good. Let's move on to the regular agenda, and then we'll come back to these items. Council, any motions or changes to the regular agenda?
Move to approve. Second, Entman.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve the regular agenda. It was seconded by Councilor Enneman. If there is no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. We'll go to the public input. Folks, this is an opportunity for you to actually engage the council now, if you'd like. If it's on an item that is not on the regular agenda. So if there's a topic you want to cover, come on up, just introduce yourself to the people of our town, and we just ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Well, Mr. Stengett, welcome.
Tim Stanga. Boy, I don't even know where to start. A lot of people asking a lot of questions within the week. And they're starting to figure things out. They're starting to look at things a little bit different. They're starting to watch city council a little bit more, the mayor's office. One thing that they got a lot of questions on is the Pentagon. A lot of entertainment going on to the Pentagon, and a lot of it's coming in when the event center is going to be open. And they're trying to figure out why it's going out to the Pentagon and it's not going to the event center. We got a big investment out at the event center. And I question that too. Because it all comes back to the investors that are out there, and if they're gonna lose any money, that there's not gonna be basketball tournaments and whatnot out there. A lot of the businesses aren't gonna make it out there. A lot of people have questions on that. The other thing is the TIFs. This has been a big one. They try to figure out, when they're watching TV, and they're trying to figure out, well, why is it that all of a sudden, when we're talking about TIFs and trying to change things, that there's somebody in the audience or somebody that gets sort of outrageous on when something's going to be changed or something's going to be done. And they're starting to figure out that is it sort of staged or is it on purpose? Well, I can only say one thing. I come in here all the time. I watch what's going on. There are some things that are staged. It's so easy to watch, it isn't even funny. Because normally there isn't that many people that sit back here to be able to ask a question. And there are some people that do get a little outrageous. Not just me, but a lot of people on the city council over different issues. You try to figure out what is the issue. Well, I don't know, the thing to me, and a lot of people out there, anybody that is investing money into a TIF, if you're an elected official, I don't care if you're in the county, the state, the city, you should not be able to invest any money into a TIF at all. Reason why? You're here for the people. And people are starting to realize that we have to be here for the people of Sioux Falls. They always say that they're always talking about change of lifestyle. I don't know, I walk around my neighborhood and I talk to a lot of people during the week, and they ask me, just because the event center and the Pentagon is going to be bringing a lot of entertainment in, how is that going to change my lifestyle? People in my neighborhood, they're lucky to have $10 at the end of the month. I'm gonna preach this until you guys really start listening right here. Start listening. The people in my neighborhood, they're lucky if they have $10 a month. Now, how are we going to change their lifestyle? Rent's going up because taxes keep going up. Insurance keeps going up. Food keeps going up. So how can we change their lifestyle? I mean, I just don't understand. And then I had a guy call me that we have, it's a wireless for the phones. We have up in the air that we're putting flags on. He asked me that when they have the flags on, why are they not lit up at night? I drove by one tonight. You're right, they're not lit up. The flags are fully up there. None of these flag poles are lit up. So I told him I would ask that question, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Stinga. Thank you. Folks, would anybody else want to engage the council? Very good. Thank you. Thanks for being here. We're now going to move on to the items that Councilor Staggers brought to our attention.
The first item is the 2014 water model update by Apex for $25,000, and that is Public Works Water.
Good evening, Jeff Dunn with City Engineering.
Councilor Staggers?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Jeff, I'll have to admit, I don't ever recall this water modeling in the past. I suspect that we have done this, but I just did not know about it. Is that correct?
That's correct. We've started, from what I recollect, a water modeling contract since 2002.
Since 2002.
Correct.
And my next question is that we have a lot of expertise here in this city government. I mean, that's one thing I'm constantly amazed about. We have people that have worked in the water department for years and years and years and years. And I guess my question is, with all of our expertise, why are we going outside of the city to get this? It looks like this is a computer program, isn't it? That's all
it is.
Why can't we purchase it and be done with it and forget about doing this every year.
We could purchase it. There's several things that we consider before we would go down that route. Water modeling is very technical, and it takes a lot of input and a lot of people, not a lot of people, but skilled technicians who know how to use the water model. Every year we update that based on that water model, based on how much new water main we put into the ground and how much we take out and replace. And the software, as I understand it, the package, if we were to buy it today, would be $20,000. And the people who do the water modeling do this day in and day out consistently. And we don't have the staff to be on this water model, doing the modeling day in and day out for whatever needs that we have. One of the good things about having a consultant do this work for us is that if we had a business come in from out of town, and if we knew what their demands or uses were, and we knew where the location was, we could simply send that information to the water modeler and find out what kind of infrastructure we would have to extend or get to the site. So it's a very useful tool for us for planning purposes. And it leaves any of the guesswork out because the system is run off of the distribution system itself.
Yeah, I guess the way I understand computer programming is you simply put the information in, and we certainly have the staff that can do that, and then the program comes up with the results.
It's if I could, it's not that, I think that might be an oversimplification. There's a lot of nuances that go into water modeling. It's not like a gravity system. Water's under pressure. It acts in strange ways. It moves differently. It reacts differently to different conditions. And for us to have somebody on staff who could be into the water model on a day in and day out basis, we don't have the time to do that.
And then final question. You mentioned we started doing this in 2002.
Yes.
What did we do before then? Anything?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Jameson.
Jeff, is this information used to help determine the new rates that we would charge for water?
It is not. It is used for simply determining
infrastructure,
technical, arriving at technical conclusions based on what information we have.
Okay, thank you.
Put into the model.
Council, very good. Attorney Fifley has recommended that we vote on each one of these separately. So with that in mind, a roll call vote, please.
We need a motion.
I need a motion to approve this one, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
Move to approve Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Councilor Staggers. Or next item.
The second item is the Falls Community Health Physician Medical Services. This is an agreement for services, Center for Family Medicine, to establish pricing, and this is from Health.
Councilor Staggers.
Yes, Jill, I assume this is just a contract that we have for bringing doctors in. How much are we anticipating spending bringing these doctors in?
Well, actually, this contract is to sort of carry us over into the first quarter of this next year while we're hiring our employed providers. So this is not a new contract. It's one we've had in place, and we'll extend that for a period of 1 quarter. Estimate at the most, I mean, I wouldn't even want to really estimate because it's a volume-based contract, and so we pay by visit, and we pay different rates based on whether it's one of our physicians versus a resident versus a nurse practitioner seeing those patients.
Yeah, but you must have some kind of general idea. Is it going to be 50,000 or 100,000?
Counselor Staggers, that'll be variable because what we're hoping is that early in the first quarter that we'll have hired our at least a couple, 2 or 3 of the 4 nurse practitioners that we're working on hiring right now. So as we bring them on board, those staff will start seeing patients at a certain time, and then we'll start ramping down the providers that are seeing patients from Center for Family Medicine to be able to get us to the balance that we need to cover our patient care delivery. So I can tell you that historically in that quarter we've spent under $200,000, but we will not spend that much on this contract.
Okay. And employee providers, can you clarify, are we hiring our own permanent staff?
We are that is correct. We're hiring 4 nurse practitioners or physician assistants and 1 chief medical officer, and that will be happening throughout this year. That was approved in the budget for 2014.
So chief medical officer, a PA, and?
We call them advanced practice providers in the job description, and so we're looking for either nurse practitioners or physician assistants.
Okay. And that's going to be a total of how many people?
Well, it's varied. We'll have 5 of our own employed providers, and then we have upwards of 18 residents between their 2nd and 3rd year of practicing, and then we'll have around 5 physicians from Center for Family Medicine doing a little bit of time at our clinic as part of the residency program experience, but that's less. That's about 1/2 to 3/4 of an FTE, and so it's very, very minimal. And the residents themselves add up to just under 2 FTE, so right in around there for the medical providers.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Entman.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve.
Thank you.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Entman has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there is no more discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0.
Item 3 is the after-school programs. It's an agreement for after-school programs, the YMCA, for $136,000, and this is from Parks and Rec.
Councilor Staggers?
Yes. Dave, how many years have we been paying money for this program?
You know, this program used to be in another department's budget, so I can't really say how long. I know it's been in our budget, I believe, for about 7 or 8 years. And since that point in time, I believe the dollar amount has stayed very consistent.
Yeah. And you said 7 or 8 years for the Parks Department, but it was also around before then.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess maybe at this time I can just mention this is the one that I'm definitely voting against. And the reason for that is simply this is the responsibility of the school district, not responsibility of the city. We've been doing it for many years, like you've mentioned, but the school district should be paying for it, not us. It's not our responsibility. So,
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Entman?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve.
Second, Erpenbach.
Been a motion to approve this item, and it has been seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr.
Dave, how many children do we serve in this program? Just maybe an average per year?
I tell you, Mike Gulick is here from the YMCA, and it's really their program, and so I don't have those numbers, but maybe Mike has something.
Mike, Councilor Anderson Jr. has asked just how many people or how many children are served by the program.
Yeah, we serve about 1,000 kids a year, and I brought Jess Jervik with me. She's the program director in charge of the program, and she can give you maybe a daily account. It's about 1,000 a year.
I'd like to hear from her, please.
Good evening. Currently, an average per day throughout all 5 schools, we're seeing about 350 kids attend our program. We haven't hit peak numbers quite yet, but just at Whittier itself, we're hitting 120 kids there. I think it's very important to show that the city supports our program. Not only the schools do support us by providing us a space through our partnership, and I think by us partnering with them and the city supporting us, we're providing a safe place for them to go when the bell rings at 3:45. They're not having to walk to a community center and get into trouble on the way there. They're tired after school, they're hungry, we're providing the snack and engaging in enriching activities every day with positive role models, mostly college kids, but lots of stay-at-home parents. And the kids are coming to us and looking for guidance, and I think it's very important that the city shows their support, and we appreciate it every year.
What other schools do you serve besides Whittier?
We support all 5 schools: Memorial, Patrick Henry, Edison, Axel Park, and Whittier.
Yeah, the middle schools then.
Yes, sir.
Counselor, thank you. Counselor Stagers?
Yes. Can you clarify how many years the city has been doing this?
I can tell you, I've been here 8 years. It's been all 8 years, and I know at least a couple before that, if not more.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, okay. Thank you very much.
Counselor Karski?
I just have a question. I'm kind of curious on Counselor Stagger's motivation here. You don't have a problem with the contract language in any way, shape, or form on this?
No, my concern, it's been this way for many years now, is that we're taking on the responsibility of the school district. We should not be doing that. The school district should be paying for this, not the city of Sioux Falls.
But we already approved this in our budget. This isn't a time to be renegotiating our budget. This is a time for contract approval.
Yeah, but if you recall, I mentioned that this is one item. The reason I pulled it really is because I want to vote against it. Because I always vote against it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it. There has been a motion. It has been seconded. We've had thorough discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Antman?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. And then we did pull that other item, so we can move on. I love it.
Okay.
Item 18.
New 2014 package liquor license for Grevco Incorporated Shop and Cart North to be operated at 1029 North Minnesota Avenue. Item 19, a new 2013-14 retail malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Prairie Berry LLC, Prairie Berry Winery, 322 East 8th Street, with conditional use permit 2013-1017 being approved on November 6, 2013, pending final inspections per fire, health, and building services. 20, new 2013-14 retail malt beverage license for Relic Revivals Limited Company Corporation, Relic Revivals Limited Corporation, 5015 Southwestern Avenue, Suite 260, with special use permits 2013-1007 being approved on October 1st, 2013. Item 21, new 2014 retail wine license for Relic Revivals Limited Corporation, Relic Revivals Limited Corp, 5015 Southwestern Avenue, Suite 260, with special use permit 2013-1007 being approved on October 1st, 2013. Item 22, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated, Chef Dominique's, to be operated at the Avera Prairie Center, 1000 East 23rd Street, for an Avera Medical Group event on December 19th, 2013. Item 23, various retail malt package liquor and retail wine license renewals for 2014 to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, identified as Exhibit E.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you. Jamie.
Good evening. Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 18 is a request to add a package liquor. This location currently holds a package malt farm winery license and simply would like to add packaged liquor. Item 19 is a full-service restaurant that would like to offer retail malt and farm wineries. Items 20 and 21 is a kind of a unique business idea in that it's a women's clothing consignment store, and they would like to have monthly sale events or promotions at their store, and they'd like to be able to offer their customers beer and wine during those events. Item 22 is a special one day. Item 23 are the renewals this year or for this fall that have failed underage stings in the last 12 months. And there are 3 of them, and I believe the 3 representatives are here tonight if you have questions for them.
Jamie, thank you. Council, any discussion? Motion, yes, Councilor Heineman.
Mr. Mayor, I guess on item number 23, we do have three, I believe, and we usually ask them to come forward and just to give us their viewpoint. So at this point in time, I guess I would like to have them come forward if that's possible.
Jamie, would you mind introducing these folks one at a time?
Sure. I have Ryan and Troy from the gas stop.
Brian and Troy, welcome. Brian and Troy, would you folks just mind educating the people of Sioux Falls, just some of the things that you're doing to prevent this from happening in the future?
Yes.
Thank you.
What we do is every employee, before they can work for our company, we run them through the South Dakota Certified Approved by South Dakota Retailers. They take a test. They must pass that test in order to work for our company. Second of all, the management trains them on identifying the IDs that we accept and how to enter them into the registers. We currently, any person under 40 years of age, we ask for an ID. The employee must scan their ID at the register for it to accept that sale at that time. We do offer a $25 sting bonus that if they pass the stings, we do put that on their next paycheck as well. The manager that I have with tonight, we did fail the sting back in March. We currently, what he does is he has a form that he has his employees sign daily to make sure that they are carding daily to prevent this ever from happening in the future. So.
Thank you. Brian and Troy, the employee in question, what happened to them?
We currently let the employee go. We suspended him and then had a meeting with him and let him go.
Very good. Thank you. Council, yes, Councilor Jameson.
Brian and Troy, the store at 4600 West 41st, I was with the police officers on that particular night. Can you give me your account from how you understand what happened that night?
Yes, I can. My assistant manager happened to be working that night also. The officers came in with the underage person, and the cashier did everything right up until the point where he ID'd them, looked at their ID, but then on our old register system, you could type in a birth date that was, if it was, so you could type in your own birth date if you were of age, and then it would let that go. Well, he typed in his own birth date. Why he didn't, he was trained to just type in the birth date off the ID. That's, it's very easy to do. But then he just typed in his own birth date, and that is how he failed. That's how, I was not there, but that's how I understand it happened. And in talking to the employee, he knew he did it. The assistant manager saw it happen also, but couldn't stop it. There was, busy at that moment and stuff. So,
if I could, I think it's just fair for all of us to know as a firsthand witness of what occurred. You're pretty accurate on all your details, except for the last part that you were under a lot of pressure with employee or customers in the store. There was no other customers in the store. Okay. But you're right. The clerk actually looked at it. He asked for the ID, which is good. He looked at it. He tried to do something in the computer, but he failed to do that. And as well, you have a calendar on your counter that is flipped every day, and it has the same math that's done right for them. In this account, and I sat and watched it, the employee was just, it was over his head. And I'm glad that you are informed of exactly what happened. Some of the details you're right on. By the gist of it, I know you're doing what you can, but I don't know how you fix this on your point of view, because you have so many stores and you have such a risk out there, an IQ test or something. But I sat and watched this, and I really couldn't believe it. He did the right things, but he just couldn't do the work. So I just want you to know you're accurate on your statements, and I appreciate your efforts, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie, would you introduce the second? Thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here tonight. The second, folks.
And the second one I have is Jay Sim from King's Liquor Mart.
Jay, welcome. Jay, could you just explain what you folks do at King's Liquor to prevent this?
Yes.
We do the same process most gas stations have. We do use the South Dakota Retailer Association techniques. And the gal that failed, she passed 3 times last 4 years. And it seems like I'm coming every 2 years, seems to me. I could step up here. And then what she did was, I don't know about, her IQ is pretty good though. But what happened was, she looked at the ID, she grabbed the ID. They're not checking the ID. They check the IDs and there's a date on the side there. And she told me at the moment she saw we got two dates, 95 for cigarettes and 92 for liquor. So kid brought the beer in, 1 bottle, and then she looked at the ID, she glanced over there, she saw 94 without thinking, she saw 95, sure. And then that was the end of that, and she goes, I was standing right next to her. She goes, I think I got busted. You know, so what happened? I read the wrong number. She just says, I read the wrong deal. So anyway, this is what I'm going to try to do. Rather than try to read the numbers, I'm going to make it easy. IQ test, go colors. So anything besides blue, you look at it, look at the color first, rather than try to look at the small IDs and try to punch it in or read it through. So me and my sister decided, kind of thinking about how we're going to fix this. Seems like it doesn't really matter how we train them. If they have a little moment, just like we get in a car accident, just happens. And then to that gal, it happened that day. And I don't know how to stop it, really. So we're going to go simple IQ test. We're going to go with the color scheme, see if that works for a while, see what happens from there.
Thanks, Jay.
More likely I'll see you again in a year from now. I mean,
what happened to the party that, did you terminate the employee?
No, we didn't, because she's a good worker. I mean, that's just the key. You know, I'm not saying everybody's bad or fire or whatever, but she passed. She does more good numbers, like her record's 3-1. So, no, we kept her.
Jay, thank you. Jamie?
Thank you.
The last one is the Sudanese General Store. However, I didn't make contact to know if there's really a representative here or not tonight, but is there someone here from Sudanese General Store? No, I called them several times. I sent them letters. I never heard back from them, so I apologize. I didn't contact
you. Council, any?
Can we pull this one and request that he come here? I think I'd like to do that, Mr. Mayor, if we could.
I would second that motion.
Councilor Intiman's made a motion to pull the last party, Jamie, and that was the Sudanese General Store.
Maketh Gak is the name.
So there's been a motion to pull that. It was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. And yes, Denise?
Is that pulled and going to the next January 7th council meeting?
That would be the exact wording, yes. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Denise. Does that work, Jamie?
Yeah, he will not be able to sell for that first week, but I did make that very clear in the letter that I sent him, that it was very critical that someone be here, so.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Jamie, what's the location of that store?
623 West 11th.
West 11th Street.
Thank you.
Councilor Karski.
Just curious, Jamie, how many years have they held the license? Do you know that one?
I don't know.
I'm just looking at your chart
Here, I
here, and
can
I see
tell you.
2013 was the only violation they had, going back to 09.
I believe it was 2011
So
that
they've been
they,
in business 2 years.
so it's not been very long. Yeah, that's their only violation, and it was 2011 that it was a new license.
Councilor Intiman's made a motion to pull the Sudanese General Store application off. Was seconded. We've had some discussion. Councilor Rolfing.
Jamie, did I hear you right in saying that if this passes, this
vote that they will be out of the liquor business for a week or so, the 1st of January?
Yes, until we get this renewal approved, which wouldn't happen until January 7th.
Okay, we've never penalized anybody like that before that I can remember in my 3.5 years here. And I don't know that I want to do that this time, other than let's make sure that this guy is in next January 7th. If we can get some assurance from there. And we don't have any, but I don't know, I'm really torn on this one. To take a license away when we've never done that before for a week, yeah, it doesn't feel right.
I understand that. However, he does have a responsibility. He did fail. He was asked to show up and be here. And I think that we have, as a city council, since I've been on this council, that it's been a request, and we have delayed action on licenses until they showed up. We're only asking that they come in and they explain to us that they're making every effort possible in what their security is doing. They have to submit a plan, it's my understanding, to the city. It is his responsibility as a citizen and as a business person to abide by what the rules are. And in this case, we're asking him to make a very simple report. That's all we want. I think that if he has to wait for a week or two, so be it. That's part of the responsibility of being a business person in this community.
Councilor Jameson.
Jamie, just to clarify, the letter that you write to them does not require them to be here, or does it just highlight?
Yeah, no, it does require them to be here.
Well, then that's...
And I did send the letter. I called 4 or 5 numbers that I found associated with the different licenses over the years, and I didn't get to anybody. So I do know that they did work with Jim Larson with the Sioux Falls Police Department on the security management plan, and they did submit that, but I have had no contact with them, so I apologize for that.
Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I agree with Councilman Rolfing. I cannot recall ever being on the council where we actually deprive somebody of their license like this. And we also should probably put this into context too. You know, this is a South Sudanese and probably not fully, you know, aware of all the rules and all the regulations that we have and so forth. What I would recommend is that we maybe ask them to come in our next meeting, but go ahead and approve it right now. Because what's going to happen the next meeting we have, I can almost guarantee it, it's going to be almost a unanimous vote to approve anyway.
Yeah.
So why do we want to punish this person when we're going to approve it anyway?
Well, very good. We've had a motion to remove this item. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
No.
Karski?
No.
Rolfing?
No.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Intamin?
Yes.
No. Do we have a motion on the other items?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Intamin.
It's been a motion to approve, I guess, all the items that have been discussed, 18 through 23. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin?
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Item 24.
Protest petition filed pursuant to SDCL 11-4-5 and City Ordinance Section 160.653. The action already approved by the council must be reconsidered and approved by 2/3 majority vote or 6 council members before it becomes effective. This is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2013-0707 to Chapter 160.446, Plan Development Districts at northwest corner of West 85th Street and Southwestern Avenue, amending the 3 Fountains Plaza Plan Development District, regulations and sub-area map. Planning Commission recommends approval. On November 5th, 2013, the council approved by a 5-2 vote with Councilor Entenmann absent.
Ms. Cooper.
Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services. This particular item, the applicant is Joel Dykstra, representing RMB Associates. And as the agenda states, the property is located in the northwest corner of 85th and Western Avenue. The size of the parcel is just under 22 acres. I want to start out, for the benefit of everybody, by talking about the protest petition process, because it's been a while since we've gone through this. And then we'll give a brief summary of what the application is requesting. South Dakota law provides for when a zoning item is approved that there can be a protest filed. That protest can be filed by property owners within 250 feet of the boundaries of the zoning action. It requires a 40% of those property owners to make the petition valid. The exhibit that we put together based on our review of the petition that was filed is up on the screen. The hatched area identifies the properties that are eligible to be within the protest area. And again, that's a 250-foot distance from the boundary of the zoning item. Based on our analysis, there are 29 property owners, and it goes by owners in equity, and City Attorney Fively can help explain that if you have more questions about that. Of the 29 owners that are eligible, the petitions included 12 signatures. So if you take 12 and divide it by 29, you get 41 point something percent. Also, we put in, based on our GIS database, the little red symbols are those properties that are occupied by a residential use. So that kind of helps you see not only who signed the protest, which is in blue, the dark blue, but which of those properties are currently occupied by a residential use. So again, tonight, as the agenda very well explained, we're voting again on a same request. There's no changes to the request that was presented last time. In order for it to pass tonight, it does require 6 city councilors to vote in the affirmative. So I want to just quickly go through a very quick overview of the application request. And the best way to explain this is I'm actually going to read the staff report that went to the Planning Commission. The Three Fountains Plaza Planned Development District was created in March of 2008 for the purpose of commercial, office, and residential development in a mixed-use setting. The applicant is now requesting to change several of the sub-area boundaries and land use regulations in response to changing real estate markets. The current applicant is proposing to no longer construct mixed uses development and concentrate more on single-family and twin homes along the west side, which is sub-area A, multifamily within the center portion, which is now being proposed as sub-area B, and then along the street frontage of 85th and Western would be commercial and office use. This side-by-side exhibit shows on the left the current sub-area boundaries. And within a planned development zoning district, each sub-area identifies what land uses are allowed. The exhibit on the right shows how those current sub-areas would be changed to come up with only 3. And so then the next exhibit that Jason is going to show us, let's go back to the, yep, there we go. I think this is the easiest way to explain. In the center portion, which is proposed to be sub-area B, would be strictly multifamily residential. There would no longer be the vertical mixed use within the current development that showed office or retail on the ground floor with 1 story of apartments above. And as we discussed at the second reading, The applicant is now asking for this to be changed, and as part of their plan, they would be putting in 7 3-story multifamily structures. Along that northwest edge would be low-density residential, which is the buffer. That would be single-family or twin homes. So that would, again, provide the buffer from future residential to the west, and then existing residential even farther to the west. Along 85th Street and then a portion of Western, the land uses are pretty similar to what's currently in the sub-area regulations. It would allow either office or commercial. So the primary change would be in the center portion that we discussed with you at second reading prior to tonight. We have folks here that, again, probably want to testify on both sides. But again, I just want to give a very brief overview. And again, what you are being asked to vote on tonight is the same request as you had at second reading. There's no changes to that plan. Thank you.
Mike, thank you. Council, I was going to let you know that Attorney Fifley is recommending that we immediately go to the public input, and then after that's done, then we'll go to the council, along with any other further questions that you may have or testimony. So welcome. This is an opportunity. If any of you want to speak either for or against this particular topic tonight, this is the opportunity for you to do that. Just come forward, introduce yourself, and all we'd ask is that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. But welcome, if anybody'd like to speak. Thank you. And folks, if there's others, if you would just get ready to jump in, we'd appreciate that. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Thomas Olson, 2409 West 85th Street. I've been at that location 21 years, and we are in the city limits at that location. Our group is here again based on promises, as we see it, not kept, and what we find to be inappropriate zoning for the area. I believe we're going to have 5 speakers for our neighborhood tonight, and we're going to try and keep it just as brief as we can for you. One of the things that struck me back on November 5th when we were here was as Councilman Staggers was voting, he commented that he was voting for the amendment because of the property rights of RMB. You know, based on that, I have to ask, what about the property rights of the adjacent homeowners? Do we not have the right to be secure in the development of our own neighborhood? That's certainly one of our biggest concerns. You know, prior to purchasing our properties, all of us researched what was already present and what was predicted to be present where we purchased or built. I've been there 21 years, as I noted. Back then, I got with city planner Steve Matley. We had a good conversation about the zoning and the plans for the area at the time. Steve showed me maps showing that whole northwest corner area to be largely single family, larger lots, perhaps some twin homes, a little bit of commercial right down in the very corner of that intersection itself of 85th and Western. We also reviewed the 2015 plan with Mr. Matley, and the thing that keeps coming back to me in the 2015 plan is the wording in there that recognized the city's growth upon existing rural developments, and the wording that talked about requiring a gradual transition to existing rural homes. We don't find 7 3-story apartment buildings across the road to be a gradual transition. Other neighbors that are here tonight also looked at plans as they were preparing to buy much later than when I did. Several of them saw plans that showed single-family development on this northwest corner. Still other neighbors that purchased and built a little while later saw the 3 Fountain Plaza plan development, all of which purchased and built based on that. You know, when RMB purchased the 3 Fountain Plaza area, they knew at the time the planned development was established there and exactly what it was. Perhaps they shouldn't have purchased that piece of land if that planning wasn't satisfactory to them. That's certainly our take on it. We as a neighborhood feel there has to be a balance of property rights of the individual homeowners versus major developers. It seems more and more that major developers seem to get everything they desire at the expense of average homeowners. We feel zoning is a promise the city makes to present and future landowners. We all knew, or we all thought we knew, what we were going to have next to us based on existing plans and zoning. Apparently, as it seems, an individual homeowner can't rely totally on that anymore. In the 21 years I've lived at this location, which is directly across the street to the south, I've had to resist major development plans at 85th and Western 3 times now. In 2 previous times, we've been able to reach a conclusion that was satisfactory to all of the area homeowners as well as developers, and came to a successful conclusion each time, but not so far this time. You folks have the power to affect this. A homeowner or home builder should be able to purchase near a zoned area and know what's going to spring up next to them. Property owners also should be able to rely on the city to keep plans and zoning in place once established in order to protect the integrity of their neighborhood. When we met on November 5th, since we met on November 5th, Councilman Karski commented in the Argus Leader that the city should keep its promise to neighbors. I believe the quote was, "They bought there with a certain understanding, and now you're changing the game." Mr. Karski got it right, and we certainly appreciate that. I just ask you to consider the property rights of the neighborhood here, consider who bought their property when and under what circumstances, and vote no on this amendment. I thank you.
Thomas, thank you. Great job. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Lenker. I live at 7602 South Ridgestone Drive, adjacent to the property that RMB is planning to develop. I would actually like to highlight just the change in development from the time we purchased our lot until today and what is being proposed. I'm wondering if you can help me with that.
Stacy, go right ahead.
Okay, sure.
They'll get it ready.
So
Good job.
the first graph that I'm putting up here is the development as it was in 2005, and so 88. What this represents is the 21, almost 22 acres that is intended to be developed by RMB Associates, and at that time in 2005, 88% of that would be single-family homes, with 12% of that again closer to that intersection of Western and 85th Street being commercial. Since that time, if you take a look at what's being proposed today in the major amendment, over half of that becomes higher density apartment complexes. There is still room for single-family residential there as well as commercial, but that is a significant change in that density that would happen within that area. The last one that I want to really take a look at is the compromise that we came to with with the developer as well as the homeowners. In this particular graph, you'll see that the home office really accounts for some multifamily housing. At that time, when we did this compromise, it really was meant to have 2-level buildings as opposed to 3 levels high. And we were able to come to this agreement. There were some changes that were happening as it relates to access. So we've seen more medians coming into intersections for better flow of traffic. And we had to make it, the developer needed to make a change to make that successful. With the suggestion of the City Planning Commission, came together with the neighbors, and we were able to come up with a compromise, which is represented here, that seemed to be, for all parties involved, a win-win and positive for the city as well. And so I would just ask that we honor that compromise that was made. And if we do need to make some changes, then I would ask that there be involvement with the homeowners so that, again, we can reach that win-win solution for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Tom Wilcox. I live on Windswept Place, just east of the first gentleman that spoke. So I live across 85th Street from the development, and I've lived there for, well, I bought my lot about 7 years ago, and at that time, I was under no illusion that I was going to be living in the country forever. You know, we all know how that works, but I did do my homework. This is where I was going to build my house and raise my kids. So I did my homework. I probably pestered Jeff Smith so much that he probably figured that Wilcox guy needs to buy this property or give up. But I did my homework, and 85th and Western was zoned for primarily single-family homes, and I could live with that. So I moved ahead. I bought the lot, I built the house, and a lot has changed since then. You know, we compromised as a neighborhood, and a few years back agreed to what the Three Fountains Plaza folks wanted to do. A bit of a departure from what I had in mind when I bought the property, but I could live with it. The big change seems to be happening now. We're talking about putting up 45-foot tall buildings so that you know, I walk out my front door in the morning and drive down my driveway, and there might be a couple of office structures between me and those 45-foot buildings, but I'm going to look out on my yard at 7 45-foot tall buildings. Not what I had in mind. So I guess I want to talk a little bit about the buffering, you know, as it affects me. You know, there's some proposed buffering to the west of the development, and that buffering is a couple of rows of homes on property owned by someone else. It's not a part of this development. So the buffering between these high-density apartments and the folks to the west is a couple of row of homes that haven't been built yet and property owned by somebody else. So I guess they're relying on some other property owner to provide that buffering. That seems iffy, I guess, in my mind. To the east, some of these apartment buildings are slated to sit right on Western Avenue practically. So I'm not sure that there's a lot of buffering to the east either. And I guess for me, to the south. The south is the, you know, in my little world, the most important thing. I stand out in my yard, I look to the north, and I have 7 45-foot tall buildings to look at. Would you mind putting up a graphic for me as well? I want to show you where my property is so you can see what it is I'm looking at every morning. I live on the X, so I look out my yard and that's what I see. I also have an elevation I'm going to put up here. This sort of shows the homes you see there, the small rooftops, that's the 2 rows of houses that don't exist yet. And they are uphill a little bit from these 45-foot tall apartment buildings. I'm the X. I'm down the hill. I'm on a plane with those guys. So again, I look out and I look at I'm not looking at rooftops and shingles here. I'm looking at the side of 7 apartment buildings. When I bought the property, that wasn't zoned agricultural. That was, the decision had been made. I felt protected to some degree. And as a property owner, I feel like I have some rights. I feel like, you know, it's you guys that we elect that have bearing on this. So that's what I'm doing here today. I'm asking you for some help, and I'm asking you to consider me and how it impacts my property as you make your decision as to what you're going to do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Veek. I live on Ridgestone Drive, and I've lived there for over 7 years. I wanted to talk tonight about one of the most important things that zoning ordinances govern is density. And when I bought my lot in 2005, 19 of the 21 plus acres we are talking about tonight was zoned RS1, which is the lowest density of zoning that you can have for single family dwellings. And then turn that to the proposal tonight, which is to change 12 of those acres to RA1, which is almost the very highest density you can have in a residential neighborhood. The current proposal, too, is actually pushing that limit to its very highest, almost 17 dwellings per acre. So that's the big change that we're looking at tonight. I feel that this type of extreme change in density is why homeowners look to the zoning ordinances and to the City Council to help govern and protect the property rights of the single-family homeowner. The depiction you're looking at that I put up here is 3 Fountain Plaza as it is currently zoned. There is not a single sub-area on that is zoned RA1. With the exception of 2 acres there being zoned RD, the multifamily homes that were going to come into 3 Fountain Plaza were all in the C4 zones, and they were going to be a live to work option. That was kind of the new forward-thinking type of plan development we were going to have right here in our backyard. And it was going to be a lovely walking destination that we could go and give our business to and enjoy. So tonight, I'm just here asking you again respectfully to vote no on this major amendment. Thank you.
Tammy, thank you as well. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Marcia Ruff. I live on Ridgestone Drive. I've been up here before, and tonight you have an opportunity to do something unique for the people of Sioux Falls by voting to keep the 3 Fountain Plaza planned development as it was originally zoned in 2008. After months of negotiations, 3 Fountains Plaza was a compromise between the developers and our neighborhood. Zoning is a promise to existing homeowners. This planned development was in place when all of the homeowners purchased their property, or the zoning had been for single-family homes. A change from a destination with employment and shopping to a densely populated group of apartments would create an exodus of people going out of the neighborhood daily. And these people would have to leave just to find a place of employment or shopping elsewhere in the city. Does that make sense as progress for a growing city? This change would be the opposite of progress towards creating neighborhood communities. Consider a destination for the citizens of Sioux Falls versus a source of daily exodus. This property was already zoned when RMB purchased it. There are many other parts of town that are available and zoned for apartments. The developers should buy land where it is properly zoned for their desired developments. An existing neighborhood should expect that established zoning is upheld. Stability in zoning should be a consideration anytime you are affecting established neighborhoods. Consider our rights as homeowners and remember the hard-earned money that we have invested in this neighborhood. We made informed, conscious decisions to purchase lots in this area specifically because of the zoning, which was in place when we purchased the land. This planned development was in place when all of the homeowners purchased their property, or it had been zoned for single-family homes. Please consider our property rights, the property rights of homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Koziak, and these are all my neighbors. And I'm probably the baby on Ridgestone Drive. We've only lived there for 2 years. And we purchased the property with the idea that we would be able to walk down to the corner of 85th and Western, and we would be able to visit the establishments down there. That was actually a selling point for us. That is why we moved into that home. It was our very first home that we built. My husband has worked very hard to get to that point where we could build the home in that neighborhood. And having an apartment in that neighborhood was not what we had in mind. And I'm sure that many of you would feel the same way if there was be a huge apartment building built in your backyard. Unfortunately, I don't think my house is within the 250 feet that the gentleman spoke to earlier, but Ridgestone Drive is just that. It's a ridge. And it affects my sunrise in the morning. It affects my view. It affects my daily life. Every morning I stand at the kitchen sink and I look out, and that is what I'm going to see. And I lived in an apartment for many, many years until we moved to Sioux Falls. We need them. Absolutely, we need them. But there are places in the community for that. And this particular corner is not the place. And so, like my other neighbors, I would very much like you to consider that and vote no against this. Thank you.
Shelley, thank you as well. Welcome.
I promise that he's not a prop, he's a constituent. I think it's important to remember that the...
Sir, could you just state your name, please, first?
Dan Brentrow, 7420 Ballymore Circle.
Thanks, Dan.
I think it's important to remember that the planned development that we're trying to protect also has apartments in it. It has 42 apartments, but they're in the context of a mixed-use development. And that mixed-use development was a selling point for me to buy my lot and build my house. And it was during the process of building my house that I discovered that the plans were being changed. The reason my son Kai is up here with me is because as I was doing the math about what 2035 means, why the city would adopt a 2035 plan, I realized, looking at him, that that's the year that he'll graduate from college. That's the year that he'll turn 22 and think about moving back to Sioux Falls. The City Council in 2009 adopted its 2035 plan, which in at least 25 different places uses the words vertical mixed-use development. It does that because that kind of development, that kind of forward-thinking development is what brings people to Sioux Falls, which makes this an attractive city. Now, we can have 7-story apartment buildings anywhere in town, or I'm sorry, 7 3-story apartment buildings anywhere in town. This is a unique corner. This is a unique plan that was developed with all the neighbors' input. Everybody bought into it, and everybody is willing to start going there and shopping there as soon as we build it. It's the wrong time to change course, and it's the wrong thing to do. One thing I want to point out, I'll call this the camel gets his nose in the tent. The council heard last time that, don't worry, the old plan had 45-foot tall buildings in it, so it's okay for this new change to have that too. What they didn't tell you, and what we didn't get a chance to come up and tell you because of how the rules of procedure work, our 5 minutes were done, is the 45-foot tall buildings were in that section A on top there. That's it. The rest of that area has shorter buildings, and they're all limited to 2 stories. If you drop down to the 2013 sketch there, suddenly that entire area becomes an area where you can have 45-foot tall buildings that are 3 stories. That's a completely different change. This is a very dramatic, different plan than we were sold back in 2008. If you look over on the right there, you'll see what that means. Even under the old plan, if you could somehow sneak in a 3-story, 45-foot tall building, R&B could only put 3.5 of them in this spot. The rest of it would all be stuck with 2-story buildings. That's not right. That's not the change that we asked for. That's not a change that's legitimate at this point in time. The 2035 plan is designed for us to look forward, not to eat sugar and find a development that's good for the next 5 years to make somebody a buck. The 2035 plan talks about mixed-use development, vertical mixed use, pedestrian-friendly communities to make them last for the long haul. That's what we bought into, and that's what we support. How much time do I have, Mayor?
You're at 3:30.
I've talked about the Campbell in the tent, meaning that we started with single-family residential. We get a little bit taller and a little bit taller, and suddenly the council accidentally, I think, buys into the idea that the whole thing is supposed to be 45 feet tall. That's the camel. The elephant in the room is the idea that the mayor owns part of a similar development across town. I don't want to talk about that other than the fact to mention to you folks, the Argus called us, we didn't call them. We were aware of the connection back in August. It was a concern to us, but it was not the substance of what we're after. The issue for us is not who owns this or why the decisions are made. The issue for us is that the city council keeps the promise that it made in 2008 to all the landowners, which was, we're going to develop this corner in a way that is pro-development, which is development for the long haul, which is development that's a destination for the city and the neighborhood, not just something that is short-term and short-sighted. We ask you to vote no on this proposed rezone because it is not the right thing for this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item before I turn it over to the council? Yes, welcome.
Thank you all. Hello again. Joel Dykstra, 404 East 77th Street. You know, I want to just address a little bit of a history lesson here. The Planning Commission considered this matter. We heard tremendous full testimony, both sides at that meeting, and the Planning Commission voted unanimously for approval. We were here November 5th. These same arguments, the same emotion was present. At that time, the council, to their credit, listened and heard everybody out very intently and voted 5-2 to approve the new plan. You know, what has really characterized our approach all along for the last year and a half since we started planning meetings or neighborhood meetings back in 2012 and had them again in August of this year and have had several hearings here before you, is a consistent, honest, and transparent approach. We haven't tried to slide anything in, get something approved, and then change it when we get to the next stage. We went right through and have been very honest and very clear all the way on this process, and that continues. There have been a number of things I think we do need to address, and mainly one of the things we need to address is this issue of buffering. All of the people you heard from, most of them won't be able to see this property because of the rooftops of the houses between. Ridgestone Drive is blocked. There's going to be 3 levels of single-family homes, and actually one of those buffers is our own. We have a row of single-family homes in our plan on the west side. On the south side, the multifamily area is buffered from the people across 85th Street by the same commercial buildings and the same office and retail development that was envisioned in the previous plan. There will be coffee shops in there. There would very likely be a nice place to walk to. The difference is that it won't. That those buildings will also block and buffer those residential areas, which, by the way, are across a 4-lane street, as 85th Street will become a major arterial. To the north, the buffering includes existing office properties, and to the east, the neighbors across Western Avenue are already twin homes, townhomes, multifamily development. So, you know, what we've done here is provided a high-quality, very attractive property and project that will provide housing to some very important demographics that Sioux Falls requires. We're talking about some place that will draw essentially higher rents, and we'll have to because of the quality of what we're going to do. But it'll do that because the young professionals, the empty nesters, the kind of people who want to live in apartments of this quality and this type are willing to do that. And these are going to be good neighbors. They're going to be important citizens of Sioux Falls, and they're going to underpin the growth of our city going forward. And I'm confident that when we're finished, and we look back 5 years from now, we'll see this as an asset for the neighborhood, for the city, and for development at 85th and Western. You know, nothing has changed since the last time we voted on that here in this room. I would ask you to consider your vote from before, consider the same information, and please approve our project so we can go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Folks, is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item before I turn it over to the council? Well, very good. Very good. Appreciate that. Council, I'm now going to leave it in your hands. We've had good testimony from the people of our town. Councilor Jameson.
Thank you. Mike Cooper, if I could ask a question and help us understand the difference between a planned development area and just regular zoning.
The planned development zoning district allows a developer, a neighborhood, to basically create their own land use plan that maybe doesn't fit the standard zoning district boundaries or the traditional zoning district boundaries. We've used the planned development districts in a number of locations. And as I mentioned at the beginning, typically within a area that's being zoned to a planned development district, there are one or more sub-areas of geographical boundaries that identify allowed land uses, and then in some cases development standards that would go along with those land uses. So the conventional zoning fits into a planned development, but a planned development is typically a more combination of different land uses within one development area.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, let's let's talk buffers around this area here. Could you show us, if not on this map, on another map, how the buffers are established here per our current zoning ordinance?
Okay, I'll go back to, let's show the exhibit that has the uses. There we go. Okay, this map shows the 20-some acres that's being considered tonight as an amendment. Again, I'll start at the southern end. On the southern side of this exhibit is 85th Street. And so you have what's shown as O/C4. That means that you could put in office uses or retail commercial. And that's, again, very similar to what is currently shown in the Three Fountains development. And then to the north of that is the proposed multifamily. And then on the left-hand side, it says RS2, which could be single-family or twin homes. And then there's additional 2 rows of future residential lots that have been allowed or approved. So you're going from single-family to twin home to multifamily to office and commercial. That's the transition.
Okay. On the commercial side, how high are we allowing those buildings to be?
Commercial zoning and office, you can typically go up to 35 feet. That would be allowed currently as well.
And again, this was a planned development. The former developer who made the agreements, were there any written agreements that were made as far as this, or was this just, you know, a planned development that was created and approved by the council, I take it?
Yeah, the zoning ordinance was approved by the Planning Commission and then the City Council. So that's what we have in ordinance is the current planned development district that's being amended tonight or requested to be amended tonight.
If I may continue, I'm sorry. How many other planned developments similar to this do we have in the city at this time?
Well, we have probably over 150 planned development districts throughout the city. They're all different. This would be one of the larger ones in terms of land area and uses, so, but they are around the city.
And are there any special rules on these that, you know, they can't be, well, as this one here, a new owner has come in with a new plan, basically has gone through the hoops that the city puts forth?
We have seen amendments. I mean, we have a provision in the zoning ordinance that allows for what we call major amendments and minor amendments. I think one of the unique features of this particular area is that, as you've heard from the testimony tonight, this would be the third revision of the land use plan since it was originally agriculture. And I didn't talk about the first version, but the main issue that changed that was the standards that we now use in terms of access along arterial streets. The access management has changed the land use development that we use in recent years.
So I'm also taking it this has been a difficult location to develop under the proposed plan that we've had, or?
Well, under the current PD, there has not been any request for final building permits or anything like that. Once the zoning was allowed or approved, we hit the recession, and then the land went up for sale. So there's been no action on the property since the current PD was put in place in 2008.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilor Karski.
Mike, if you don't mind, a couple questions. If you clarify for me, what's the difference between a major and a minor?
A major amendment would be changing a land use, say, from residential to office.
Okay. And a minor would be?
Would be changing a setback distance or landscaping requirements or parking, those kind of things.
Thank you. Tonight, question for you. I've heard a lot of concern, people saying, and I know my son went through this, he's looking to buy a lot that he eventually wants to build on, and he does his homework. He's, what can go across the street, what can go behind me, that type of thing. Do we have anything at all that gives any assurance to a person when they buy a lot or build a property that things won't change on them?
I think the best thing that can be done is when a developer files covenants on the land. Those go with the land. The city does not enforce those covenants, but those are the best protection. And in this case, there were no covenants filed on the property.
Okay. And along the same line of questioning then, because people have to keep coming back sometimes 2-3 times over the course of years, and they keep fighting to protect what they see as their property rights based on what's happening to the properties around them. We had before us an ordinance to change our zoning with the shaped places. Would shaped places protect people better?
Shaped places would result in either the current development plan or the proposed either one. Shaped places is still a zoning ordinance, and any ordinance can be amended by a council, either now or in the future. The 2035 plan, as well as the shaped places, does encourage and provide for a variety of developments. The mixed use, we heard about that tonight. It does allow that. It doesn't require it. I mean, what we've tried to do over the years is provide options for neighborhoods and for developers. We encourage multiple uses within neighborhoods, but in terms of the vertical mixed use, the village concept, the intent was to allow that, to encourage it, but not to require it, because we're not the developers. Those decisions should be made on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
Council, before I go back to Councilor Jameson, did anybody else have a comment or a question? Councilor Jameson.
Mike, if I could, sorry,
sure.
Keep you on the hot
right.
box. Just to continue on, if shaped places had passed, we would not be having this discussion right now. The developer would have had the approval and ability to build what they're proposing. Is that true?
No, shaped places would have changed all the planned development districts to different zoning classifications, but it would have been based on what the current planned development was approved. So you would still have to go through a zoning change to amend those land uses.
Okay, one other quick question. One of the neighbors had mentioned that the 45-foot building structures was not as we were told. Do you remember that discussion? Do you agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, I probably didn't explain it as well as I should have that second reading, but yeah, the 45 feet in the current plan development district was pertaining to the vertical mixed use where you could have office or retail on the first floor. You could have a second level of multifamily. That currently is allowed to go up to 45 feet in height. But in the PD sub-area regulations, it says two-story buildings. And then, again, what the amendment tonight would be is to allow the traditional RA1 zoning height, which is up to 45 feet. So you could go 2 stories or you could go up to 3 stories as long as you stay within that 45-foot height limit. Or you could go 1 story.
Okay, I just think it's fair that everybody's understanding exactly what's happening, so that if somebody is concerned about that, I think they made that clear, and I think everybody's on the same page, and that's why I want to make sure.
Well, Council, thank you very much. A very good discussion. We now have, and this is just a protest petition, so we don't actually need we just have to vote, right, David? We should have a motion? Okay, that's what we'll do. Then thank you for that clarification. Council, David has asked us to make a motion. Would someone want to do that, please?
If I could, Mayor, before that.
Okay.
I see members in the audience who are still, if the council is willing.
Sir, would you come forward, please?
My name is Nick Gusso. I live in Ridgestone Drive, and there's one point of clarification. Go back to that last slide, please. The one with the 3X. The third X up to the left, that property, I believe, is still owned by the bank. The developer went broke. We've lived there 8 years. That property is owned by the bank. So we don't know what's going to happen there. The other comment that Mike made is that covenants are what people fall back to. We had covenants that are totally gone. Our covenants, I had 3 copies of them, changed 3 different times, and it said in there that the developer can change them anytime to anything he wants, and they did that, and our developer went broke, and now we have totally new, smaller homes, different covenants. We can't rely on covenants. We have to rely on you folks for zoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate that. Councilor Aguilar.
Mike, I have a question then. If the bank owns that property, it's still zoned single family?
Yeah, the property that was pointed out on the west side is currently allowed for single-family development only. So that would have to be amended at some future date if somebody wanted to change that land use.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Again, very good discussion. City Attorney Fifley has recommended that we make a motion here before we vote. Would anybody be willing to do that?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfe.
Councilor Erpenbach has made a motion to approve is that right, David? Is it the right wording? Okay. Thank you. Councilor Erpenbach has made a motion to approve item number 24, and it was seconded by Councilor Rolfe. Councilor Jamieson.
Well, there's been a lot of conversation about this change, and a lot of things have been written. Just some follow-up, though, to the council's conversation. The question of whether this land was desirable as it's been zoned as the planned development. It was sold as it is. And so I think that accounts for its desirability. Now, today is a different story, but the reason that a lot of effort was put into putting all these restrictions on this land was to create that custom zoning that was talked about, the development standards. But at the end of the day, the objective was to create predictability and for those adjoining homeowners. And that was done to its fullest extent. thousands of dollars were spent to make that happen. And those homeowners nearby bought into that concept because of all of those provisions that were put in place to protect it and to create the predictability, so they knew what they were buying when they built their homes. I have firsthand account of this. I know it's true. And I think if we fail tonight, we're actually going to create a RIF on all vacant land across the city that doesn't even have close to this kind of predictability. I think those neighbors are going to feel threatened about what could be done. I think we have a chance tonight to enforce something that we've put in our 2035 plan. It's a great idea. It's a great looking concept. You saw the map. It's a great use of this land. I support it, and I support the denial of this amendment, so I wish you would too.
Councilor Stagers.
Yeah, this evening we've heard two important issues brought up by many speakers. The issue of property rights and also the issue that zoning is a promise. Let me address each of those just for a few seconds. Property rights. Well, we have the property rights of the owners of the Three Fountain area. And then we also have the property rights of people living on Ridgestone Drive and other single-family dwellings in the area. I don't see anything surprising here. The primacy should be given to the owners of the land. And in this particular case, of course, it would be the developer. But also, please keep in mind, if you have a home on Ridgestone Drive and the city sometime wants to try to take over your property, you have priority there. So the property rights are for the developer, but also for the individual homeowner too. I mean, I would never want any of your homes to be taken by the city or whatever the case might be, because that's your property and you have a right to it. Zoning is a promise. You know, I think many people in the city of Sioux Falls believe that, but in reality it is not a promise. It's something that we have on the books as an ordinance, but hey, we change it all the time. I mean, that's the primary reason why the city council exists, because we're constantly changing things. We talk about plans, 2035 plan and so forth. Hey, we're going to change that a lot. And why? Why would we break our promise, so to speak? Well, if we didn't, things could not run very well here in the city of Sioux Falls, because it's so hard to predict the future, let's face it. You know, we anticipate, well, maybe this area will be zoned commercial or this area residential or whatever. Well, it might look good at the time we do that zoning, but later on we discovered, hey, that's not going to work out very well at all. So we have to change. So while people believe zoning is a promise, they're actually misled. It's just a tentative plan that the city council can change anytime it wants to. So all of this being said, the most important thing, though, of course, is the property rights, and to respect the ownership of the property, to let them do what they want. Thank you very much.
Council, very good, very good. Before we vote, David, either you or I explain this. You know what, why don't you do it? Explain what we're doing so that the people of Sioux Falls understand this.
Sir Mayor, by state statute and by city ordinance, which adopted the state statute basically verbatim, the owners of equity within 250 feet of a property that's going to be rezoned can file what's called a zoning protest. And by that mechanism, they can, those 40% of the owners in equity can force a reconsideration of an already approved zoning item, and it would require a 2/3 majority, or in other words, 6 votes of this city council to essentially approve it again. If 6 votes are not achieved tonight, then the zoning change that was already adopted on November 5th would not become effective.
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to say, sorry,
Nope,
Counselor, I'm
that's
just writing just something.
I understand.
Counselor Rolfing, I apologize. Counselor Rolfing.
Not a problem. I have the same thing. I got to write them down before I forget them. And now I've forgotten what, no. Thank
you.
Okay, help me then with this vote.
Yes, sir.
A yes vote says the petition is upheld?
No.
No, okay, I want to make sure we're on the same.
Yes, good job.
Where it's essentially, look at it as a third reading of the ordinance. If you vote yes, you are adopting the ordinance just as 5 of you did on November 5th.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we all understood what we were doing there.
Very good. Thank you. Denise, please, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
No.
Karski.
No.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Entenmann.
Yes.
That is passed 6-2. Item 25.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 223 North Franklin Avenue from the RD Residential District to the C2 General Commercial District, petition number 2013-0802, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Mike?
Okay, this is an application by Jesse Brusky, representing JCL Solutions. They're currently located at the corner of 8th and Franklin. They are looking at acquiring, potentially, an existing residence directly to the north for possible future expansion. The single-family home is available for that to be acquired. We had a lot of discussion about encroachment into the single-family neighborhood. Staff did put together an exhibit as far as rental and owner-occupied. And Jason, can you point out where we're at on 8th and Franklin? There we go. In the green, those are owner-occupied structures based on our GIS database, and in the red are rental units. So the property that's currently being proposed to be rezoned has been an owner-occupied unit. The land directly to the west of that, across the alley, is actually vacant, that lot. And then there's one residence between that vacant lot and the other business that's to the west of JCL, which is also a commercial use. So we have not established a specific line within this portion of the Whittier neighborhood, but this particular block is within our downtown district boundary, and that's shown on the map as well. The downtown district goes north to 7th Street and then over a block to the west. So as we looked at this request, we kind of developed or looked at it as a transition area. If we don't approve the rezoning, what will continue to happen to that residence? We believe that eventually that block is going to see some type of potential redevelopment. And so that's where we approached it as far as a staff review and staff recommendation. The applicant is here tonight, and we wanted him to maybe come up and talk about why they're interested in this lot and maybe give you a better idea of what their future plans might be. At the Planning Commission hearing and through all the deferrals that we've had with you, we have not had any neighborhood comments on this proposed rezoning. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. This is a second reading, so if anybody would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Welcome.
Jesse Brusky, JCL Solutions. We were approached by the owner's grandchildren probably 4 or 5 months ago. The owner was moved into hospice care, and instead of them selling the house, they looked at us as potentially buying it on contingencies of it being rezoned as commercial. Our plan with it, I guess, is since it kind of came out of the blue and we just finished up with a warehouse expansion. You know, if we can rent it out for the time being, eventually redevelop it into warehouse use to grow our business. This is kind of our plan at the moment.
Jesse, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Would anybody else want to speak on this item? Council?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Councilor Erbenbach's made a motion to approve item 25, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 26.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 12th Street and North Ellis Road from the AG Agricultural District to the C4 Planned Commercial and RA1 Multifamily Residential District, petition number 2013-1009, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
The rest of my items are first readings that will be setting a date of hearing. This is a petition by Steve Van Buskirk with Van Buskirk Companies. This property consists of just over 22 acres. It's a portion of the Cherry Lake Reserve Development, and this is proposing to amend the zoning to allow approximately 16 acres of future commercial development and just under 6 acres of future multifamily residential development.
Council, would anybody want to say the date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, January 7th for this item?
So move, Entenmann.
Second Aguilar.
Councilor Entenmann's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 27.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 3216 South O'Gorman Drive from the RD Residential District to the O Office District, petition number 2013-1101, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by Dennis Cryer. The property is just 1 block north of 41st Street along O'Gorman Drive, about 0.23 acres. It's currently vacant, and the proposed use is to develop this into a small insurance office.
Yes, Councilor Jamison.
You know, those insurance guys sorry, Mike, do you see this kind of as the end of the expansion of commercial use towards into the residential?
Yes, because there's really no other vacant land in that area. And you can see, if we go back to the graphic, we have residential to the north. So again, this is that really good transition between commercial, office, and then residential.
Right, and so in a lot of places it kind of just keeps going, but you kind of see this as the end because
I believe so, yes.
the existing homes aren't likely.
But I can't make any promises.
I get that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of?
Mayor?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Can I ask?
Councilor Rolfing, go right ahead.
Mike, did we put the signs out yet on this, or did that go?
Yeah, everything went through the mail, the letters that we send out to the adjoining property owners, as well as the posting of the signs for all these items. No comment.
No comments. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Rolfing, would you be willing to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, January 7th for this item?
Very much so.
Thank you, sir.
Second, Entenmann.
Thank you, Councilor Entenmann. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 28.
Item 28 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 6 Mile Road and East 10th Street from the AG Agricultural District to the RS2 Residential District, petition number 2013-1105, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition by Steve Van Buskirk, representing Van Buskirk Companies. They're currently developing the property to the west of this, known as Willow Ridge Addition. This expansion, which consists of just over 48 acres, would be rezoned for future single-family residential of approximately 64 lots.
Thank you, Mike. Councilor Entenmann.
Move we set the date for the second reading to January 7th.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Edmonds made a motion to set that date of hearing, and Councilor Karski has seconded it. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 29.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the northeast corner of East 41st Street and South Sycamore Avenue from sub-area C and D of Manifold Acres PD District to the RA1 Residential District, petition number 2013-1111, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by Ronning Companies. The property is located east of a Casey's convenience store, and it's surrounded on the north and east by twin home development. And then on the south, we also have retail as well as multifamily development. The proposed zoning would allow the construction of 2 3-story multifamily apartment buildings with 38 units per building. And then along the east side of the proposed rezoning would be a 2-story apartment building with 10 units. And then there would be also garages as part of this development. So the proposed use obviously is all going to be multifamily residential. We did have public testimony at the Planning Commission hearing. We had one of the Neighborhood Association representatives speak to this item. The public testimony really focused more about access and drainage, more so than the proposed land use itself. But again, the neighborhood is taking a look at this. We did receive quite a few calls, but the Planning Commission obviously has made a recommendation for approval of this rezoning.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I move we set the second reading, January 7th.
Thank you.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Edmonds made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Thank you both. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 30.
The first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at North Reed Street under East 10th Street from the unzoned and RC Recreation Conservation District to the RC Recreation Conservation and C3 Central Business District, petition number 2013-1113, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant on this item is Alvin Schoeneman, and this involves a parcel that's just over 1.5 acres in size. If you recall, the City Council approved a land exchange for portions of the greenway along what used to be Schoeneman's lumber in exchange for this property in order to allow the development of a parking lot. The parking lot has been constructed, but as we looked at all these different zoning districts, we want to clean up this property and bring it all under one zoning designation. And that's what we're trying to accomplish with this proposal.
Thank you, Mike. Council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I move we set the second reading for January 7th.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to set a date of hearing, and it was seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 31.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 85th Street between Tallgrass Avenue and Louise Avenue from the AG Agricultural District to the RS2 RD RA1 Residential and O Office District, petition number 2013-1114, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant for this item is Clint Ackerman. The property consists of 80 acres, which has been annexed into the city. Again, located south of 85th Street and east of Tallgrass Avenue. Mr. Ackerman is looking at developing a project that would include a combination of multifamily and single-family development, as well as future office uses. The chart that we're looking at up there shows that there would be approximately 10 acres of office zoning, approximately 42 acres of RS2, which would be single-family or possibly twin homes, The RD zoning, which would be 17 acres, would allow up to 4-unit buildings. And the RA1, which is about 11 acres, would be the multifamily apartment zoning.
Councilors, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, January 7th?
So move, Entenmann.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Entenmann's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Thank you both. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 32.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the northwest corner of East 14th Street and South 2nd Avenue from the C2 General Commercial District to C3 Central Business District, petition number 2013-1115, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is also a petition by Clint Ackerman. The property consists of just over 1/2 acre in size. Mr. Ackerman is proposing to rezone this to C3 commercial and incorporate it into the rest of that block going north that would be developed into future condominiums and townhome uses. And we have a concept plan that shows how that half a block would be eventually developed into that residential use. This would be directly across the west side of the downtown Sunshine.
Councilor Erpenbach.
Thank you. Mike, can you tell us, the homes that are there now appear to be single-family homes. They might be multi-family. Are they all rentals? Are they?
I believe they're all rental units, and I believe there are multiple units within some of those.
I assume so. They're some of them rather large. My question then would be, do we know what Mr. Ackerman's plan is in terms of rental and sales prices for the proposed property? Is it all going to be market rate, or do we know any of that yet? Or is it too early to ask?
I was just told by my expert witness that it's going to be in the range of $300,000 to $600,000.
To purchase?
Yes.
They're going to be purchased?
Some of those will be condos and some will be townhomes. And why don't I get you more detail for second reading?
That would be spectacular.
Okay, I'll be
Thank
happy
you.
to do that. And we'll have Mr. Ackerman here as well.
Thank you. I would move to set the date of hearing then as noted.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to set that date of hearing. It was seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mike, could we also bring some parking information also for that development?
Sure, yep. They will be providing their own off-street parking, but we'll have that in more detail for you to look at.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job, Council. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar? Aguilar?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman.
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Item 33.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 310 Southwestern Avenue from the RS2 Residential District to the C2 General Commercial District, petition number 2013-1116, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is an application submitted by Dave Stuckel, representing the Frying Pan, which is currently located directly south of this property at the corner of 12th and Western. They are desiring to acquire this residential property in order to expand their existing parking lot for their customers.
Move to approve, Karski.
Thank you.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Karski is making a motion to set a date of hearing, and that was also seconded by Councilor Intiman. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 34.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at east of Highway 11 and south of East 26th Street from the AG Agricultural District to the RS2 Residential District, petition number 2013-1117, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is another petition by Steve Van Buskirk, representing Van Buskirk Companies. They're currently the developers of the Copper Creek addition, which is along 26th Street and Highway 11. This property, which consists of almost 37 acres on the southern end, would be an expansion of that development and would allow approximately 102 single-family lots.
Move to set the reading to January 7th, second reading.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you, Councilor Entman. He has made that motion to set the date of hearing. It was seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 35.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property north of 5760 East Red Oak Drive from the RS2 Residential and Dolly Farm Village Plan Development District to the RA1 Multifamily Residential District, petition number 2013-1120, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant is Tom Cleve. The property consists of just under 3 acres, located northeast of the Rosa Parks Elementary School and directly to the north of an existing apartment complex known as the Red Oak Senior Apartments. And this would be a phase 2 for Red Oak Senior Apartments of approximately 49 apartment units.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing for this particular item?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Entman.
Thank you, Councilor Erpenbach. Thank you, Councilor Heineman. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 36.
A resolution approving the special assessment role for the Main Street Business Improvement District in the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Adam Roach with the Community Development Department. Item 36 is asking for council approval of a special assessment levy for the Main Street Business Improvement District. It's roughly 450 acres in size. Nearly 250 properties in the Central Business District will be affected by the resolution tonight. The revenue generated by the Business Improvement District helps fund activities and programming efforts we see downtown. The funds are administered through Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated Organization, and Brianne Maynor from Downtown Sioux Falls is here to represent them. A couple items I want to point out before I pass the mic over to Bree here. The resolution you'll be voting has a cumulative assessment of roughly $145,000. The maximum assessment on any one individual is $1,700. The bid has been in place since 1989. This is the 24th year that we are looking for support of this item. This item was taken to the Business Improvement District Board, which is an advisory body that reviews and makes recommendations to the council on November 22nd, and they did give their blessing to approve this item to move forward for your approval. With that, I would like to turn over to Brianne Maynor to speak on behalf of Downtown Sioux Falls.
Brianne, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I am Brianne Maynor, and I am the Membership and Communications Manager for Downtown Sioux Falls. Downtown Sioux Falls is a nonprofit organization committed to continually upgrading and enhancing the vitality of downtown. We administer the Main Street Business Improvement District funds to assist in the development, management, and promotion of downtown. The bid funds represent approximately 25% of our budget, and for every dollar the bid contributes, $4 more are leveraged by DTSF to improve downtown. Key accomplishments supported by the bid include the removal of 4 tons of trash, litter, and debris from downtown sidewalks and public spaces, which includes unsanitary items. The distribution of 35,000 Exactly Downtown publications to assist in awareness of downtown. The maintenance and installation of 304 street banners to create a welcoming and vibrant place, and the creation of a community safety training program to assist in keeping downtown a safe neighborhood. For a complete list of accomplishments made possible through the support of the bid, please review the 2013 bid progress reports. The bottom line is that the bid is a collective investment that works to assist in the development, management, and promotion of downtown. In 2013, over $150 million of new development and redevelopment projects will be underway in the Central Business District, and 28 new businesses announcements were made, which are noted in the development map in your packet. While DTSF can't take all the credit, The funds invested by the bid have undoubtedly been a key factor in our efforts to successfully revitalize downtown. We are grateful for the continued support of the bid and appreciate your consideration for renewal. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianne. Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Yes, last year when we had this come up in front of us, we had some businesses downtown that were reluctant to be part of the bid. How do we work with those type of businesses now downtown? Is this something that they're told there's no option, or is this something that they can opt out of?
We certainly have been communicating with them and working with them on looking at the benefits of their membership into the bid. I think Brianne can speak a little bit more on some of the owners that we have worked with on that.
And I think in that case, we also overcompensate with those members and really just show them the benefits and, really go above and beyond for those particular members to prove to them what the benefits are. And in most cases, they see the value and there isn't a problem.
Okay, if not, once again, what's their options? See, we have a bid for, through the CVB, we have a bid, the hotels are allowed to have that option to be part of that or not. They aren't? I thought there was only a listing of hotels.
Yeah, but you want to answer the councilor's question as best you can?
Certainly. To address some of those the properties that you're talking about, such as industrial and residential properties, we are bringing it back to the board in 2014 to possibly revamp some things and tweak the formula, if you will.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Stagers.
Yeah, I guess one concern I have here is that, first of all, it's not voluntary. It's mandatory. This is a tax collected by the city of Sioux Falls and given to a private entity, 100%. But then we have the property owners downtown already paying high property taxes. And now we're imposing this additional tax on them. Has the bid ever thought about trying to maybe reduce property taxes instead of just going this other direction of imposing more taxes on their members to actually try to reduce it?
That is certainly something that we can bring up to the bid board in the coming year when we meet.
Yeah, because I'm surprised. Back in 1995, when we did reduce property taxes, it was done on private residents, and commercial and businesses, they weren't included. So over the years, they continue to pay higher and higher taxes. I'm surprised they're able to do that. So, thank you.
Councilor Hammond?
Yes, could you tell me exactly, I'm familiar with a lot of the businesses downtown. I go down there, and our downtown is one of those that is really a treasure for our city of Sioux Falls. And we've made some significant public investments in the Riverwalk and a number of those things. But the bid is used for the things that you have listed on here. How many businesses really object to this of all the members that you have?
I'd say a handful at most. I can think of 3 off the top of my head. So.
Okay, and how many members do you have again?
About 300.
About 300 are collected on this bid. Yep. And the monies go according to what you've got listed on the information you provided us.
Yes, and I can go into more detail if you'd like me to.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So 38% of that money is spent towards clean, green, and safe programs. And actually, I can kind of explain what that means in more detail as far as sidewalk cleaning, flower installation, maintenance and removal, banner installation, maintenance and removal, holiday wreaths, things like that. 30% goes towards events and promotions, and that includes all of our marquee events, our Downtown Riverfest, Hot Summer Nights, things like that. 26% towards personnel and operations, which includes the equipment, fuel, office lease, things like that. 10% towards marketing and communications to get the word out there, and 6% towards economic development programs such as business recruitment guides and resource guides, stakeholder surveys, and business training seminars.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Karski.
How many years has the bid been around? And second part of that question would be, has the assessment changed much over the years?
24 years, and I'm going to defer to you.
The assessment has not changed significantly, but I can't get you those numbers over the course of the 24 years and what the increase has been.
Okay, so
But generally, it increases with property valuations going up.
okay.
That's where
Has
we're
it
seeing
always
the
been
significant
capped at
increase.
1,700?
Correct, yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Very good, Council. Thank you. Do we need a motion?
I would move approval.
Thank you.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this item 36, seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Staggers? Oh, I'm so sorry. Please come forward. I'm sorry. I apologize about that. Folks, we do have a motion, though, but welcome. I apologize, sir. Welcome.
My name is Arlie Brindy.
Ms. Brindy.
I work at Brindy Schrader Metters Law Office at 110 North Phillips in Sioux Falls, a half a block north of where they paint the rock green on St. Patrick's Day. I represent the Red Buffalo Trading Company. Red Buffalo is Skelly's, 2 buildings. They only pay $900. Houston Hago is the president. And he asked me to come here tonight to tell the council the reason why he and others that he knows and that I know object to Main Street, Sioux Falls. Mr. Hago believes in voluntary business practice, not mandatory forced associations. Red Buffalo has a lawsuit, as you're aware, against the city now, as did Ronning Enterprises. The city didn't want to let Red Buffalo out of this bid, didn't want to let Ronning out. Ronning hired an attorney. Red Buffalo hired an attorney. And thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars later, in my best estimate, the city determined that it should let Ronning out because Ronning was apartments that really didn't get benefit from a St. Patrick's Day parade or a car show. So that lawsuit is gone. I know of many people on this list, 7 pages, who don't believe they get any benefit from this expenditure, whether it be $100 or $1,000 or the $1,700. But who can afford to hire a lawyer for $300 or $500? But it's not the point that it's the $300 or $500. It's the fact that this is mandatory. You can't get out unless you can afford a lawyer and want to fight with the city for months. And the Red Buffalo lawsuit will go forward because there's 2 objections. Number 1, there's no benefit. And there's lots of apartments that I don't believe get any benefit, and they're in this district. As I looked at it over the last couple of days, we get to 8th Street, then we get to East 8th Street, 5 or 6 blocks, not all the way over to what used to be the old McDonald's, and now it's an Asian restaurant. I saw a car repair shop, a storage building for a glass sale, and they're paying for this, and I don't believe that's right. But they can't afford a lawyer. They just have to pay their $200 or $300 and go forward. So it's my contention that it shouldn't be mandatory. I think all of you who know my client know that he'd pay whatever it made sense to pay. He just doesn't like in America to be told, when he's owned that building for years and years and years, said, now you have to pay. We also believe that the state statute upon which this bid is premised is unconstitutional. You're not here to hear that from me tonight, but I believe that Red Buffalo is correct, that it's unconstitutional, and you are relying on that state law to make this assessment of $144,000 and change. I don't think it should be mandatory. I don't think it ought to apply to apartments. I'm in 110 North Phillips. That's the Huey apartment building. The people in that building from floors 2 through 6, I'm on the first floor, are elderly, handicapped, and have financial issues. They're wonderful people. But they and that building don't really benefit from the bid. So I'm here to tell you that I don't expect you to say, oh gosh, we're going to lose this lawsuit, let's throw in the towel right now. But it will go forward, and I just believe that this is America, that you ought to give the opportunity for a person or an apartment or a retailer or whatever it is to belong if they so choose. It's a horrible death to be talked to death. So further I say not.
Mr. Brentley, thanks for your patience tonight, and thank you for your testimony.
This is pretty late for an old guy. You know?
You did well. Thank you.
Thank
you, Mr. Brentley. You bet. Thank you. Council, wait, is there anybody else? Yes, sir. I have come forward, please. Welcome. And thanks for your patience as well.
I'm Steve Tinklenberg, General Manager at 8th and Railroad.
Yes, Stephen.
And the bid assessment helps fund downtown Sioux Falls. And to say that there has been no benefit to this would be a gross exaggeration. I can tell you at 8th and Railroad, at block parties, we get people from as far as 90 miles away that come and visit this town because of the promotion of downtown Sioux Falls. And those people in downtown Sioux Falls have worked very hard. And so whether you like the assessment or not, to say that there's no benefit is an understatement. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. We do have a motion. Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I have an amendment.
Oh, sure.
Yes, I move to amend this resolution by saying the following. This resolution applies only to those property owners who voluntarily want to participate in the bid.
Councilor Staggers has made a motion to revise it to say basically that those that voluntarily want to be part of the bid. And is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second by Councilor Anderson Jr. Councilor Rolfing.
Could we get a legal opinion from our counsel here whether that's even appropriate? Because the bid has already been approved, and we're not looking at approving the bid. It's just an annual thing. So the bid is already done, and I don't know that they'd have to come in another motion or another way.
Correct. This is, I would agree with you, Councilor Rolfing. This is a resolution approving a special assessment. Whether you approve the special assessment or don't approve the special assessment is what's before the council today. Not an issue impacting the bid that's been there since 1989. That would have to be taken care of by other methods.
So with that in mind, what would you recommend that we do with Councilor Staggers' amendment that was seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr.?
Our office would certainly be more than happy to look into the legalities of going after of pursuing your of how we wanted to approach the issue if you think that the bid district is inappropriate or if that should be addressed. But in terms of tonight's meeting, the assessment is what should be addressed, Councilor.
That's right. The assessment, we're not talking about getting rid of the bid or anything like that at all. We're just talking about an assessment.
About changing the bid, though, and we're not talking about
No, we're talking about an assessment.
Councilor Staggers, in terms of the assessment, maybe you can explain to our attorney how that fits.
Well, right now we have mandatory assessment. This is simply changing that to voluntary assessment. That's all. That's all it does.
Sure. And I guess in reference to that, in terms of the assessment itself, yes, if you are making a motion to amend that if those who choose not to pay the assessment.
That's all.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think through this, Counselor. I think it is appropriate on the assessment itself to yes, make that motion that you've indicated to determine whether it's mandatory or whether that would be a voluntary participation.
Thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor to amend this resolution. It has been seconded, has been discussed. A roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Council members Erpenbach?
No.
Jameson?
No.
Karski?
No.
Rolfing?
No.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
No.
That has failed 2-6. We still have a resolution. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Thank you. Item 37.
A resolution authorizing an application for financial assistance, authorizing the execution and submittal of the application, and designating an authorized representative to certify and sign payment requests.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Kelby Maris with Parks and Recreation. This resolution would allow Don Kearney, the Director of Parks and Recreation, to sign a grant application that would allow, that would help in the funding of reconditioning, recycling, and trash containers within the park system. It would also help in the funding of providing lids for those containers. To help with how we arrived here tonight with this resolution, some background on this issue. The issue of recycling within the park system has been something that we've been working on ever since I arrived at this city over 10 years ago. And last summer, Jameson with Public Works Environmental and the Leading Green team did a survey of the trash and recycling containers throughout the park system. And there's approximately 1,200 of these containers throughout the park system, so there's quite a few. And in doing that assessment, through this survey, Jameson came up with some recommendations on ways to improve. Way to improve our recycling and trash efforts. And basically, what we have out there right now are green trash cans and blue recycling cans. And we have a ratio of 1 trash container for every recycling container, and they're sitting side by side in an effort for park users to know, what's recycling, what's trash, and to do that and help us with our recycling efforts. The picture on the left is what we've got out there today. What we're proposing through this grant application would, 1, change the green trash containers to black. We would repaint all those cans black to alleviate any confusion with being green. And also we would add lids to all of our containers, blue lids to the recycling containers and gray lids to the trash containers, again to help with identifying these different containers. Now, the cost for this project would be approximately $38,000. The resolution authorized up to, or not to exceed amount of $20,000 from the city. The price of the lids is about $26 a piece, is about an average. The drum reconditioning is something that we do basically every year anyway in the wintertime, repainting trash and recycling containers and prepping them for the spring and summer seasons. Also allows for some educational information to be part of this project as well. Not exactly sure what that would be. We've talked about some decals, but we're a little concerned about the longevity of those decals in the climate we have here in South Dakota. This grant would be through the South Dakota Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, Solid Waste Management Grant. The resolution is required to authorize the application to be submitted. Hoping to submit this application the first part of 2014. Once we do hear, hopefully, that we were successful in receiving this grant, we will then begin the purchase of these lids. We will be reconditioning the cans anyway. Hopefully that those efforts will then count toward our match in this grant. And Jameson and I are available to answer any questions that you may have.
Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? Counselor.
I just have a question. You know, with the push for single stream recycling, why? Do we need to have recycling cans and garbage cans?
Jameson, welcome.
That's a good question. So with single stream recycling, we still need to have our recycling totally separated from our trash containers. It's not the one bin fits all kind of a thing. It's a dirty MRF is kind of what you're thinking of. They have that instituted in some places. It just has to be right for the right area. Here in Sioux Falls, we have one container for recycling, so you can put in your trash, or not your trash, your recyclables like pop bottles, glass containers, newspapers, cardboard. Everything can technically go into that one container, but all your trash has to stay separate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Rolfing.
Thank you. The $20,000 is coming out of your 14 budget? The matching part?
Yes, it's
Okay.
coming out of funds already appropriated in 2014.
All I want to know. Thank you.
Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of intrigued here that, you know, I'm kind of glad that you're asking the city council to approve this application, because I can't recall hardly any time that we've ever done this before. So why this time, and in the past we've never really done this?
Okay. So within the grant application process that this specific grant requires, they require us to have a resolution signed authorizing Don Carney to be our actual authorized signature. So that's the primary reason for that.
And I have just one other quick question. The pictures of the cans?
Sure. Yeah, I can pull those.
Yeah, I've always wondered about this, so this is nothing new. But taking a look at the 2013 containers, don't those containers violate city code? They're not covered.
That's another reason for this application, this grant application, to get the lids for the trash and recycling. The current lids that we use for our recycling containers aren't attached to the cans in any way. They just sit on top. So
We've been violating city code for years and years?
yep, that's been brought to our attention as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Council, very good.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Councilor
Second,
Jameson.
Rolfing.
Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. There's been a motion and it has been seconded to approve this. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 38.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards. And if I may, I'll read
please,
those
thank you,
names. To the City Naming Committee, Jesus Ramirez, Jeff Wilkes, and Mark Young. And to the Siouxland Heritage Museum Board of Trustees, Dr. Michael Mullen.
Council.
Move to approve Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve these and seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. 39.
A resolution approving the 2014 audit plan.
Don't want that one again.
I was going to bring it up, but it's going to take a while. So if you should see it on your SIRE. It should be attached document there, the 2014 audit plan. Okay.
Rick, if you want, or Rich, if you want, I could stall a little bit while you bring that up if you want.
Okay, I'll try.
Councilor, would you explain this to the people? Thank you, Councilor.
Every year, the council adopts a plan for the audit division to do their audits, and they're outlined in this list. Rich is our lead internal auditor. He has helped to get his job done, but every year we vote on this and authorize Rich to go and do his work. So it needs the full council's support.
Rich, would you just go ahead?
Yep. Okay, we got it up there on the screen for the audience, but you should be able to see that on the SIRE attachment as well. This was approved by the audit committee at last week's meeting, but by ordinance, it requires city council approval. So that's what we're asking tonight. We have 9 audits on the schedule. I'll go through them very briefly, and then I'll explain how you can put a project on there during the year that wasn't on the formal plan. The first one is Dakota Golf Management. It's the agreement with Dakota Golf Management to manage the 3 municipal courses. That agreement expires in 2015. I think we did an audit back about 2008 or 2009, so it's been about 5 years or so since we've done an audit of that agreement. Next one would be mobile devices, cell phones, long-distance charges. That's a significant expense for the city. We've never audited that area before. So we'll be looking at the administration and internal controls related to those expenses. Another one here is the Business Improvement District. For the CVB, that's the tax on the rooms, the $2 tax per room per night, looking at how the money is collected and then what the CVB does with that money to promote the city. Another one is the Family Daycare Registration Program. That's fairly new. The health department is responsible for inspecting the family daycares, and so this would look at how that program is working and see if there's any room for improvement. Next one is payroll. That's a very significant expense for the city. We reviewed that about 5 years ago, and it's probably time to look at that again with internal controls related to the administration and payroll. Next one is rental rehabilitation program. That's a program administered by the Community Development for rental property owners to get low-interest loans to rehabilitate their property. Below that is the rental registration program. That's a fairly new program. Property owners have to register with building services when they have a rental property in town. Next, we're looking at the natural gas bills for Mid-American and Constellation New Energy, especially for the big users like water plant and the water reclamation plant. And then also we'll look at construction contracts. Again, we did that, I think, in 2007 or 2008. As you're aware, we spend a lot of money on construction projects, so we'll be looking at those internal controls. And then the other activities are just the typical things that we do, technical assistance. Something new, though, is peer review. That answers the questions, who audits the auditors? And the short answer is other auditors. And so we're proposing that we ask other local government auditors from our association to audit us as an internal audit office. And one thing that I'll mention is that occasionally a council member or a director will ask us to audit something that's not on the plan, and they would like it done that year. And so the process is that they would approach the audit committee if they have something that in mind they'd like audited, and if the audit committee approves it, we can proceed with that. So we try to leave a little bit of room in our plan for those special request audits. So I would seek your approval tonight on this annual audit plan.
Thank you for that update. Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, just a little technical question. You're going to be auditing Constellation New Energy. I guess this is the first time I've ever heard of that.
That's a vendor. They're the utility company that provides some of the natural gas for some of our buildings.
Okay, not Mid-America or anything. It's just,
when I looked at the general ledger, some of our utility bills we pay to Mid-American, and then some go to Constellation New Energy. So I'll know more once I get into the audit.
Okay,
but yes.
I'll be really anxious to find out about
yes,
that.
Yes, I'm interested too. So,
good.
Yeah. So.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move approval of this project.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you.
Second.
Councilor Jameson, thank you. There's been a motion to approve this and seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 40.
A resolution abating storm drainage fee assessments at parcel number 53,472.
Good evening, Andy Berg, Public Works Engineering Department. Actually, I would like to speak to items 40 and 41. They address the same property. 40 is for the drainage fee, 41 is for frontage fees, so I'll speak to both of those items now. The property owner is the Minnehaha County Historical Society. It is the property that contains the monument, which is along North Cliff Avenue, just north of the city's street department complex. Currently, the property is billed a drainage fee and a frontage fee. The drainage fee is $18.09. Back in 2010, the Historical Society asked us to do a site evaluation. It was being billed at a much higher rate based on the assigned land use. It was $245 per year. After an evaluation, that was reduced down to $18.09. Frontage fees along this property. The frontage is along the improved roadway. So originally they had 300 linear feet along that frontage. Looking at it, there was 80 feet that is along unimproved right-of-way. So we shortened that up to the 220 feet. And that is what they're currently being charged for frontage fees. The society owes the frontage and drainage fees for the last 4 years, so these resolutions are asking for waiving of the current 2013 fees and also abatement of the past 4 years' fees for both of those fees. We do not support this either of these resolutions. The property is being billed per the ordinance. It is billed for the use of frontage fees for the use of maintaining, plowing that street section. Drainage fees are charged to all parcels within the city for the purposes of maintaining the drainage systems that handle water that flows off all the properties in town. There are representatives here tonight from the Historical Society, so I'd open it up to any questions from me. Otherwise, they are prepared to speak.
Andy, thank you. If we could bring those folks forward first, we'd appreciate that. If anybody would like to speak to this item. Mr. Colby, thank you for your patience tonight. Welcome.
After coming after the garbage, I felt like the marching band after the horses in the parade. Bob Colby.
Thank you.
I was the president of the Historical Society when we started this particular effort. We have the current chairperson, Jim Carlson, and one of our board members, Sandy Dean. Now, we started this, as it says, 4 years in arrears. We started this process in April 2011, 32 months ago. Gestation period on an elephant is 22 months. This has been taking a long time, and it just seems not to, roll along as fast as we would like. With the reduction of the drainage fee, we have no particular, we're not complaining about that. The frontage fee, the history, I guess I give you a little background history. This is the monument to the no-names who helped make Minnehaha County what it is. It's the settlers and business people, the likes of all of us who are here, who won't have a monument like Pettigrew erected to commemorate all the things, the great things that each and every one of us has done. This is that all-incorporating thing. It was started in 1929 to build that particular structure. Unfortunately, the Depression came along, and after that, the war came, World War II, that is, and then it was erected in 1949. It has a USGS marker or survey marker there. It's got 2 other monuments, actually 3 other monuments marked on that site. It was on US Highway 77, and when that was abandoned, and no one ever would have thought that would have been abandoned, it was out there by itself. Many of us wish that the city in its enlightened state would have had an access from Amadon, because you can see the monument, but there's no way in God's world you can figure out how to get there. And I was back there tonight. It's really a nice place, very nice, especially this evening, going up and looking at the lights of the city and a little snow and the moon coming up with the haze around and the circle around the moon. There is a retaining fence up there. This is kind of an aside, but it's that barricade that you see along the interstate to keep people from running into the support posts and running into the abutments. I looked at this film that I had done, and this is over a year ago. This has been run into by some very large machinery. Somebody probably with a truck came around there, didn't know that Highway 77 was closed. And it is that way, and this was done in September of 12. We would like to have the reduction of the frontage fees. This is actually more of a park area than anything. When it was constructed and dedicated, all the city fathers, there were no city mothers at that time, all the city fathers showed up, and it was a big to-do. And it is one of the more prominent places in the city where you can look to the east probably a mile, and you can look to the south a mile, and it's the only place in the city where you get that kind of a visage over our community. What we would like to do is, we started this, as I said, 32 months ago, and we were advised not to pay the assessments at that time because we were in the process of trying to negotiate it. Well, the drainage fee at $18 a year, we can pay that, we'll do that. But the frontage fee, this is a parkland, and you see how much use we get out of it. If I were to embarrass you people and each one of you say, how many of you have been up there within the last calendar year? I won't ask that question. But this is something that we need to promote. This is a nice place for the city. This should be one of those things that people would find as an asset and as a place to go and kind of commiserate, whether it's in the wintertime or the summer. I must admit, years ago when the city had its wastewater treatment facility down below, it was probably not one of the gems of the community. But today it's different. And so we are lobbying you to say we'd like to have a little bit of a reduction. We're a small organization, and this is going to always be there. It is not commercial. It's not residential. It is parkland that we have tried to maintain. Thank you. Any questions?
Ms. Coley, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item? Council? Councilor Anderson Jr.
Move to approve first, please.
Yep.
Second.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, sent by Councilor Rolfing. Discussion? Councilor Anderson Jr.
Is it possible to do an amendment on this to permanently waive these fees on this property? I don't see a reason why we're assessing a piece of property that is a historical portion of the city, and there's no money made off of this. It's just something that...
Councilor, if I can just, why don't I get that answered for you, and then we'll have you discuss your rationale why you want to do this.
And Councilor Anderson, I do understand the sentiment there. The problem is that the way that the ordinance is written, the city council needs to determine that the assessments are invalid, inequitable, or unjust. And from a legal standpoint, as Mr. Berg indicated, we believe that legally those are valid assessments. Now, certainly this council can determine that they're inequitable or unjust, but next year's council may feel differently, and the council after that may feel differently. So it's not something that can permanently be waived. You can certainly go back the 4 years and waive the current assessments, but it's something that would need to be addressed annually to make sure that the the council that's in place at that time feels the same, that it's inequitable or unjust.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's a good question. Councilor Rolfing.
Andy, how is, what's the zoning, or what is this classified as for assessment? Is it parkland? Is it nonprofit organization? Is it, commercial, or what?
I believe it was listed originally as a governmental property of some sort. I don't believe it was correct. That was part of the issue we had when we reduced the drainage fee. We looked at it basically and did an actual evaluation on the impervious area and reduced that land use down to a factor of 1.38 instead of 18 that it was before. That's why it's such a significant difference.
Did we make that same kind of reduction on the property, on the assessment, on the yardage or footage?
The front footage is not driven by land use. It is solely a $1 per linear foot of frontage on any street, and that's charged to all parcels. So the land use or taxable land, I guess the identifying land use for that parcel doesn't matter for the front foot.
Who owns a piece of property? The Historical Society, Bob? So we're charging $1 a foot, and we moved it back from 300 to
Correct.
200, or?
Yeah, if you take that blue line of the property all the way to the end of the right of way, it's 300.
I've been up there. We should be given. I mean, it's not very nice up there at times. I mean, the road isn't very good. Last time I was up there, were potholes it swallowed my car, and it was mostly gravel.
Okay.
And so, my feeling was, if that's all the better we're going to, if that's all the better we're going to do with it, let's give them a real break on it, like we did with the other one. But keep something there, so that they've got some ownership in it. This is just really, it's a great spot for the city. And you're right. I can remember coming in as a kid, driving in on Old Highway 77, and you hit that, and you knew you were in Sioux Falls. And it was a great place. And now you better take your GPS to find it.
Oh, yes, Councilor Jameson.
I just wanted to state that I support Andy's comments about the recommendation not to approve. I understand his position, and I also understand Paul's explanation on the rules, but I also appreciate the privilege of being a council member and the authority and decision-making process, and I would recommend approval of abating these fees.
Councilor Staggers.
I think there's a little confusion here. Andy, you said earlier, of course, that Public Works does not support this. However, you take a look at the resolution, the sponsor is the mayor and Public Works for both of these resolutions. And so one can easily say that you're the sponsor, you must support this.
I have to speak to this, I guess.
We occasionally get these requests, and I think since I've been here, there are about a half dozen of these requests that we've brought. When somebody makes the request, we draft a resolution for this council to, if you vote for it, you're voting for the abatement or getting rid of the taxes. If you vote against it, it's to keep the charges. But when somebody makes the request, the resolution is drafted so that you have the opportunity to abate it. I know that there have been other ones that, sometimes Public Works supports them, sometimes they oppose them, but when the request is made, then the resolution is drafted, and then it's your decision to make.
Wouldn't it be appropriate if Public Works really doesn't support this to have a council member or the mayor, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Mayor, don't you support this because your name is on it?
I think that the attorney expressed very eloquently how this works,
Because then what we should have in the future is people who truly support a resolution or an ordinance are on it. If you don't support it, don't get on it. Because reasonable people would say, yeah, Public Works supports this.
Thank you. Very good. Yes, Councilor Karski.
I just want to clarify that in government that this is a yes means no, you don't have to pay. Is that correct?
Correct. If you vote for this, if you vote for these resolutions, you're voting for abatement or that no taxes should be charged. So vote for is no taxes.
Councilor Ermbach.
My question is, it has to do with some of what Councilor Rothwing was talking about. I haven't been up there in the last 12 months, Bob, but I have been up there recently, and I agree. The potholes are horrible, and the street is not in any shape. I don't know if that's, you know, a retaliation for you not paying the front assessment for 4 years. But my question is for my colleagues, and maybe for Paul, if we say we're going to abate everything, don't make them pay anything, then they have no skin in the game, and do we just let this street go to... I mean, do we need to keep something in there, or do we need to just be honorable about this and say, you know what, we're going to pave that and make it nice again?
Andy, could you answer the question, please?
I would comment the skin in the game. Their frontage fee is not identified to go towards their street improvement. It goes into a fund for full street improvement and funding and plowing. So that street still should have the same improvement.
My point exactly, right? Andy. So, yeah, thank you. I know I was being facetious, but that's how it feels, you know. And so I guess, yeah, that's part of it is that, yeah, I think we're all kind of feeling like, yeah, this isn't a big deal, but let's make sure it is kind of a cool spot. And I didn't think about going up there now when the lights are out, but let's just make sure we're taking care of all our streets. I don't know.
Councilor Rolfing.
Yes, just a mathematic problem. You get $1,260 here for 4 years. That makes $315 a year. I thought you said there was closer to 250 feet. That was up there. This is 315.
Yeah, we changed things in. We reduced the drainage fee in 2010, and there was a year or two of the 300 being charged on there before that was reduced down as well. So it is not the 220 and 18 all of those years.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Just continue this discussion. If it wasn't for this monument, that road wouldn't even be there. They removed a good swath of that property already. And the only reason that road is there is because that monument was there. I am in support of both these resolutions, but I would also like to ask the chair of the Land Use Committee if we could take a look at this issue and see if there are any options so that we don't have to go through this every year.
Thank you. Very good. Roll call vote, please. Oh, wait a second.
We don't have a motion yet.
Yeah, there
Denise, you said we
the
did.
first one, on number 40, there is.
Councilor Anderson Jr. made the motion, and Councilor Rolfing seconded it.
Thank you, Denise.
Point of order then, is it for 40 and 41 or just for 40?
No, we're just on 40 first.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're on number 40. A roll call vote, please. Ms. Colby, you can sit down.
Councilmember Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entman.
No.
That is passed 7-1. Item 41.
A resolution abating front foot assessments for street maintenance fees at parcel number 53,472.
Andy, do you have any additional testimony? Is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item?
We were very cooperative with the police department when they asked if we would be willing to let them put up signs because there were juveniles using it. When I was in high school, we had a place called Blue Nose where you went out and parked in the car, and this was happening up there, and they finally put up signs, and they now patrol that area to at least keep people from spending any part of the evening or all evening at that particular site. And we're very pleased that the police are doing that, and we want to be very cooperative with it. We'd like to work with the park department too, because they've expressed some interest in putting up other, maybe a canopy and a picnic table, which would really make it much more usable. Thank you.
Council, would anybody want to make a motion?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve by Councilor Brock, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin?
No.
That is passed 7-1. Council, is there any other new business?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just quickly, I will not be able to attend the meeting on January 7th. I did poll the councilors, and they did excuse me from attending that. I have a business function that I have to attend.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
I
Rolfing.
would like to, as this is our last meeting for the year, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you on the 7th of January.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments?
Move to adjourn.
There's been a motion to adjourn this meeting, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It's almost 10 o'clock. Nice job, Council. Make it a great night, Sioux Falls.